The unexpected defenders. The galaxy had never known peace. For millennia, countless species rose from their cradles of civilization, only to find a cold, unforgiving universe awaiting them. Some survived, adapting to the brutal reality of interstellar politics. Many more perished, becoming footnotes in the cosmic ledger of extinct civilizations. At the apex of this merciless galactic hierarchy stood the Caldari Empire, a collective of highly evolved arthropod-like beings whose civilization had flourished for over 20,000 years. Their technology was unmatched, their military might unquestioned. The Caldari believed in a simple philosophy: the strong rule, the weak serve or perish. For centuries, they systematically subjugated or exterminated any species they deemed inferior or threatening, carving an empire that spanned 3 spiral arms of the Milky Way. Humanity's entrance onto this cosmic stage was unremarkable at first. When Earth's first deep space vessels ventured beyond their solar system in 2157, they were viewed by established powers as primitive curiosities, apes in metal boxes stumbling through the void. The Caldari ambassadors who made first contact with Earth's United Nations of Humanity barely concealed their disdain, offering protection in exchange for resource rights and military access to the Sol system. Admiral James Harrison, Earth's chief negotiator, had listened patiently to the Caldari terms. When they finished, he simply smiled and said, "We appreciate your offer, but humanity has survived its own brutality for thousands of years. We've learned to be cautious about accepting protection from those who see us as inferiors." The refusal was unprecedented. Lesser species did not reject Caldari generosity. 3 months later, a Caldari battle fleet arrived in Earth's orbit, intent on teaching humans their place in the galactic order. They expected a swift surrender. What they got was Earth's first interplanetary war. The Caldari assault devastated Earth's major cities. Millions died in the initial orbital bombardments. The skies darkened with ash, and the oceans boiled under concentrated energy weapons. But instead of capitulating, humanity adapted with terrifying speed. Within months, Earth's scientists reverse-engineered captured Caldari technology. Within a year, guerrilla fleets were striking back. What humans lacked in technology, they made up for with tactical innovation and a willingness to sacrifice that shocked even the hardened Caldari commanders. Earth's defenders fought with the desperate fury of those protecting their only home. The siege of Earth stretched from months into years. The Caldari, never having faced such determined resistance from a lesser species, found their supply lines stretched thin, their forces bogged down in a war of attrition they hadn't prepared for. 3 years after the first attack, the unthinkable happened. The Caldari fleet retreated from Earth's orbit, bloodied and diminished. Humanity had won its first interstellar war, but the victory came at a devastating cost. Earth was scared beyond recognition. Billions dead. Cities reduced to radioactive craters. Oceans poisoned. But from the ashes, a new determination emerged. Humanity would never again be vulnerable. Never again at the mercy of technologically superior aggressors. Over the next decade, Earth rebuilt and reforged itself. The United Nations of Humanity evolved into the Terran Defense Accord, a unified government focused on expansion, innovation, and military preparedness. Massive shipyards constructed in Earth's orbit churned out vessels incorporating both human ingenuity and adapted alien technology. Research facilities buried deep beneath the planet's surface developed weapons and defenses that would make any future invader think twice. As Earth's fleet grew, humanity began to explore the stars in earnest, not just for resources or scientific curiosity, but with purpose. They discovered other species cowering under Caldari dominion, species who had been subjugated for generations, broken in spirit and capability. Earth's captains made them an unprecedented offer: alliance instead of conquest. The Navari, a species of empathic crystalline beings from a heavy gravity world, were the first to join what would become known as the Terran Compact. Then came the Ellerin, the Vex, the Dairon, and a dozen other species who had suffered under imperial rule. Each brought unique abilities and perspectives. Each had been deemed expendable by the Caldari, and each found in humanity something they had lost: hope. For the first time in millennia, the Caldari Empire faced a unified opposition. The Terran Compact wasn't just challenging their military dominance. It was offering an alternative to their entire philosophy of existence. The idea that different species could cooperate as equals, pooling their strengths rather than preying on each other's weaknesses, was revolutionary and dangerous. The Caldari response was predictable: total war. On a mild spring morning by Earth's reckoning, in the 18th year since first contact, Captain Maya Chen stood on the bridge of the TDF Indomitable, Earth's newest and most advanced warship. At 34, she was one of the youngest officers to command a Titan-class vessel, but her tactical brilliance during the liberation of Navari Prime had earned her both the position and the respect of her crew. "Captain, we're picking up a distress signal," announced Lieutenant Raj Mehta from the communication station. "It's from Lyria." Maya frowned. Lyria was a small agricultural world in a system that had only recently joined the Compact. Its people, the Lyrians, were peaceful agrarians who had managed to avoid Caldari attention until now. They had little in the way of military technology or natural defenses. "Put it through," Maya ordered. The main view screen flickered to life, showing a Lyrian official. His translucent skin was flushed with the blue-green coloration that indicated extreme distress in his species. "This is Governor Thenis of Lyria," the alien said, voice trembling. "A Caldari war fleet has entered our system. They demand our immediate surrender and the renunciation of our Compact membership. They've given us 6 hours before they begin planetary bombardment. Please, we have no defenses. Millions will die." Maya's executive officer, Commander Victor Orlov, leaned close. "Captain, Lyria is on the outer edge of Compact space. We're the only combat-ready vessel within range. Even at maximum FTL, the nearest battle group is 3 days out." Maya nodded, her expression grim. "What's our ETA to Lyria?" 5 hours, 23 minutes at emergency speed," Victor replied. "And the Caldari force, based on the Lyrian scans, at least 30 warships, including 3 dreadnoughts. It's an extermination fleet, Captain." The bridge fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. The Indomitable was a formidable vessel, but against 30 Caldari warships, including 3 dreadnoughts, it would be like facing a hurricane with an umbrella. Maya closed her eyes for a brief moment, then straightened her shoulders. "Plot a course to Lyria, maximum speed. Alert all combat stations and begin emergency power protocols. We'll need everything we've got." Victor hesitated. "Captain, regulations require me to state that engaging such a numerically superior force without support is exactly what we signed up for." "Commander," Maya interrupted, her voice quiet but firm. "The Lyrians joined our Compact because we promised protection, because we said we were different from the Caldari. If we abandon them now, what does that make us?" Victor nodded slowly. "Understood, Captain." Setting course for Lyria. As the Indomitable's massive engines powered up and the ship prepared to make the jump to FTL, Maya opened a shipwide channel. "All hands, this is the captain speaking. We've received a distress call from Lyria, a Compact member world under threat of imminent Caldari attack. We are the only vessel able to respond in time." She paused, knowing her next words would likely lead many of them to their deaths. "I won't pretend this will be an easy fight. The odds are against us, but the people of Lyria have placed their trust in the Compact, in us. They believe we stand for something better than the law of the strong dominating the weak. Today, we have the opportunity to prove them right." She took a deep breath. "Whatever happens in the hours ahead, know that your service honors not just Earth, but all free peoples across the stars. We go to Lyria not just as warriors, but as the shield for those who cannot shield themselves." Chen out. As the Indomitable tore through the fabric of spacetime, Maya reviewed tactical options in her mind. They were catastrophically outnumbered. Standard engagement protocols would result in their quick destruction. They would need to be creative, unpredictable, and willing to take enormous risks. 5 hours later, the Indomitable dropped out of FTL at the edge of the Lyrian system. Immediately, the ship's sensors detected the Caldari fleet in high orbit around the planet. 32 vessels formed in attack formation, preparing to begin their bombardment. "They haven't detected us yet," reported the sensor officer. "The system's asteroid belt is masking our signature." Maya nodded. "Good. That gives us one advantage. Surprise. What's the status of the planetary shields?" "The Lyrians have activated what defenses they have," Victor replied. "But their shield technology is rudimentary. Caldari weapons will punch through in minutes." Maya studied the tactical display, mind racing. The Indomitable couldn't defeat 32 Caldari warships in direct combat, but perhaps they didn't need to. In her experience, the Caldari were methodical to the point of predictability. They followed rigid battle doctrines that had served them well against inferior forces, but made them vulnerable to the unexpected. "Here's what we're going to do," she said, pointing to the display. "We'll use the asteroid belt for cover and slingshot around to this position. Then we hit their command ship with everything we've got. All missiles, all energy weapons, concentrated on a single point. While they're reacting to that, we deploy our fighter wings to target their communications arrays. If we can disrupt their ability to coordinate, we create chaos." Victor frowned. "It's a bold strategy, Captain, but even if it works initially, we'll be surrounded and overwhelmed within minutes." "Which is why we won't stay to fight," Maya replied. "Once we've broken their formation, we'll make an emergency jump to the far side of Lyria, use the planet as cover, and then strike again from a new vector. Hit and run. We keep them off balance, make them think we're a larger force than we are." "A single ship playing the role of a fleet," Victor said, a hint of admiration in his voice. "It might buy the Lyrians some time." Maya's expression was solemn. "Time is all we can give them. If we can hold the Caldari off for 3 days, the compact battle group will arrive." She didn't need to add what everyone was thinking. The chances of the Indomitable surviving for 3 days against those odds were virtually non-existent. "All sections report ready, Captain," announced Lieutenant Mehta. "Engineering has overcharged the shield generators as requested. Weapon systems at 105% capacity. Governor Thenis is hailing us from the surface," added the communications officer. Maya took a deep breath. "Put him through." The Lyrian governor appeared on screen, hope and fear warring in his expression. "Captain Chen, your arrival is unexpected. We detected only one vessel. Where is the rest of your fleet?" Maya met his gaze steadily. "The Indomitable is the only ship within range, Governor. But I assure you, we will do everything in our power to protect your world." Thenis's skin paled to an almost translucent white. One ship, against a Caldari extermination fleet. That's suicide." "Perhaps," Maya acknowledged. "But it is our duty. Begin evacuating your people to shelters and prepare your ground defenses. We'll keep the Caldari occupied for as long as possible." As the transmission ended, Maya turned to face her crew. Every eye on the bridge was fixed on her, waiting for the order that would send them hurtling toward what might well be their final battle. "Helm, plot attack course as discussed. Weapons, prepare all systems for maximum burst fire. Communications, jam all Caldari frequencies the moment we engage." She settled into her command chair, hands gripping the armrests. "All hands. Battle stations. Let's show the Caldari what one ship of the Terran Compact can do." The Indomitable surged forward, engines burning bright against the void as it raced toward an enemy that outnumbered it 32-1. On the bridge, Maya Chen's expression was set with iron determination. They might not survive this day. But as long as the Indomitable remained intact, Lyria would not face the darkness alone. The tide of battle. The Indomitable erupted from the shadow of the asteroid belt, engines burning white-hot, as it accelerated toward the Keldari fleet. For precious seconds, the enemy vessels remained in formation, their sensors failing to register the lone human warship as a threat. Maya used that moment of confusion to full advantage. "Fire everything we have at the command ship," she ordered. "Target their bridge and propulsion systems." The Indomitable's weapon banks opened fire in perfect synchronization. Particle beams, plasma torpedoes, and kinetic projectiles streaked across the void, all concentrating on the central dreadnought that served as the Keldari flagship. The assault struck with devastating precision, overwhelming the dreadnought's forward shields and tearing into its command section. "Direct hit," reported the weapons officer, unable to keep the excitement from his voice. "Their primary shields are down, and we've registered multiple hull breaches on their command deck." The Keldari fleet, momentarily paralyzed by the unexpected attack and damage to their command vessel, began to respond. Ships broke formation, turning their weapons toward the Indomitable. "Launch all fighters," Maya commanded. "Target pattern Epsilon 3. Hit their communication arrays and sensor nodes, then return for immediate recovery." 24 fighters streaked from the Indomitable's launch bays, darting between the larger Keldari vessels. Following their programmed attack vectors, they struck at vulnerable communications equipment and external sensor arrays before the enemy point defense systems could track them effectively. Fighter wing reports 87% successful strikes, Lieutenant Mehta announced. "Keldari ships are showing signs of coordination breakdown. Incoming," Victor shouted as the first wave of Keldari return fire lanced toward them. The Indomitable shuddered violently as multiple energy beams struck its reinforced shields. Status displays flashed from green to yellow across the tactical board. "Shields at 64% and dropping," reported the defensive systems officer. "We can't take sustained fire from this many ships." Maya nodded grimly. "Helm, execute emergency jump protocol. Take us to coordinates Lyria Delta." The Indomitable's FTL drive engaged, tearing a hole in space as the ship vanished just as a second, more concentrated barrage of Keldari fire converged on their position. Seconds later, they reappeared on the far side of Lyria, the planet's bulk shielding them temporarily from enemy sensors. "Status report," Maya demanded, steadying herself against her command chair as the ship's artificial gravity fluctuated from the strain of the emergency jump. "FTL drive operating at 73% efficiency," came the response from engineering. "The emergency jump damaged the containment fields. We can make 3, maybe 4 more jumps before risking catastrophic failure." Maya absorbed this news with outward calm, though inwardly she recalculated their already slim odds of survival. Without the ability to make repeated tactical jumps, their strategy would fall apart much sooner than planned. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the surface," Mehta reported. "It's not from the Lyrian government. It's coming from their northern continent, a military installation we weren't informed of." Maya frowned. "Put it through." The view screen flickered to life, revealing not a Lyrian, but a human face, weathered, scared, with the hard eyes of a veteran soldier. "This is Colonel Marcus Santos, Terran Special Forces, commanding the 103rd Expeditionary Unit stationed on Lyria," the man said without preamble. "We've been monitoring your engagement. Impressive work, Captain, but you can't hold them off alone." Maya blinked in surprise. "Special Forces. I wasn't aware we had a military presence on Lyria." Santos' expression remained neutral. "That was the point, Captain. We're a Black Ops installation, testing new defensive technologies in partnership with the Lyrians. Not on any official records, but right now, that's to your advantage." "What are you proposing, Colonel?" "We have a ground-based ion cannon network almost ready for deployment. Experimental tech, designed to disrupt Keldari shield harmonics. If you can keep their fleet occupied for another 2 hours, we can bring it online. It won't destroy their ships, but it will make them a lot more vulnerable to your weapons." Hope flickered in Maya's chest, but she kept her expression guarded. 2 hours is a long time to dance with 30 Caldari warships, Colonel. Santos nodded grimly. I know what I'm asking, Captain. But if this works, it changes everything, not just for Lyria, but for the entire war. Maya didn't hesitate. We'll give you your 2 hours, Colonel. Just make sure that Cannon Network delivers. As the transmission ended, Maya turned to her crew. Their faces showed a mixture of fatigue, determination, and the grim acceptance of soldiers who understood what was being asked of them. You heard the Colonel, she said quietly. We need to keep the Caldari occupied, and ideally, clustered together to maximize the effectiveness of the ion cannon when it comes online. Tactical, prepare a new engagement plan. We'll use our remaining jump capacity sparingly. For the next hour, the Indomitable became a ghost ship, appearing at the edges of the Caldari formation to strike with overwhelming force before vanishing again. They targeted engines, weapons, and continued to disrupt communications, forcing the Caldari to cluster their ships for mutual protection, exactly as Maya had hoped. But each engagement took its toll. By the 90-minute mark, the Indomitable's shields were failing, multiple decks were exposed to vacuum, and their weapons capacity was reduced to 40%. Worse, the Caldari had adapted to their tactics, setting traps with hidden vessels lying in wait for the Indomitable's next appearance. During one such ambush, a Caldari cruiser managed to score a direct hit on the Indomitable's starboard engine nacelle, crippling their maneuverability and damaging the FTL drive beyond repair. We've lost jump capability, Victor reported grimly as warning klaxons blared across the bridge. Engineering says the containment field is destabilizing. If we try another jump, we risk a core breach. Maya clenched her jaw, mind racing through options that were rapidly dwindling. How much longer until the ion cannon network is online? 23 minutes according to Colonel Santos' last update. Meta replied. But Captain, we may not have 23 minutes. The Caldari have formed a search pattern. They'll find us in less than 10. Maya studied the tactical display, watching the methodical pattern of the Caldari ships as they closed in on the Indomitable's hiding place in Lyria's upper atmosphere. They needed a diversion, something unexpected enough to buy those crucial remaining minutes. Prepare to jettison our remaining torpedo casings, she ordered. Empty them of warheads, but leave the propellant. Rig them with our emergency beacons and set them to activate in multiple locations simultaneously. Victor's eyes widened as he understood. A sensor ghost fleet, making them think we've been reinforced. Maya nodded. Exactly. And while they're distracted, we'll make a run directly at their command ship. With their formations spread out searching for our ghosts, we might get close enough to do significant damage before they can respond. It was a desperate gamble, but no one on the bridge suggested an alternative. They were out of options and out of time. The plan worked initially better than Maya had dared hope. The torpedo casings, scattered across Lyria's orbit and transmitting false Terran ship signatures, drew nearly half the Caldari fleet away from the main formation. The Indomitable, running with minimal power to avoid detection, accelerated toward the damaged Caldari flagship. Weapons range in 30 seconds, reported the tactical officer. All remaining systems primed for maximum burst. Maya gripped her command chair as the distance closed. On my mark, divert all power from life support and non-essential systems to weapons and forward shields. We'll only get one shot at this. Just as they reached optimal firing position, disaster struck. A Caldari patrol cruiser, returning from investigating one of the decoys, detected the Indomitable's approach. Before they could fire on the flagship, the patrol cruiser launched a spread of disruptor torpedoes directly into their path. Evasive maneuvers, Maya shouted, but it was too late. The torpedoes detonated in a blinding flash of energy that overwhelmed the Indomitable's weakened shields. Cascading explosions rippled through the ship's hull, shattering viewports and rupturing bulkheads. The bridge lurched violently as gravity failed, sending crew members tumbling through the suddenly weightless environment. Maya grabbed a railing to steady herself, blood flowing from a gash on her forehead. Through the chaos, she heard the damage reports flooding in. Engine core destabilizing, weapons systems offline, hull integrity failing on multiple decks. Status, she demanded, pulling herself back to her command chair and activating the emergency restraints. Victor, his arm hanging at an unnatural angle, checked his console with his good hand. "We're dead in space, Captain. Engines non-responsive. Weapons at 7% capacity, enough for maybe one more volley. Life support failing on decks 3 through 7. Casualty reports coming in from all sections." Maya closed her eyes briefly, absorbing the reality of their situation. The Indomitable was finished, but the ion cannon network needed just 12 more minutes to activate. 12 minutes they no longer had. Unless... Communications, are we still in contact with Colonel Santos? Meta, blood streaming from a cut above his eye, nodded. Barely. The main array is damaged, but we have limited short-range capability. Tell him we need that network online now. Not in 12 minutes. Now. As Meta relayed the message, Maya turned to the weapons officer. "Prep our remaining armaments. Every missile, every energy weapon, everything we have left. Target their command ship's primary reactor." The weapons officer stared at her. "Captain, at our current power levels, we won't penetrate their shields. It would be a waste of our final strike capability." "I'm counting on the ion cannon to take care of their shields," Maya replied. "We just need to be ready the instant it activates." The bridge fell silent as the crew realized what their captain was proposing. A final desperate strike that would likely consume the last of their power and leave them completely defenseless regardless of the outcome. "Captain," Victor said quietly, "even if this works, the Indomitable won't survive the counterattack. We should consider evacuating the crew." Maya met his gaze steadily. "To where, Commander?" "Our escape pods wouldn't make it to the surface through the Keldari blockade. And we can't abandon the Lyrians." She looked around at her bridge crew, bloody, exhausted, but unbroken. "This is where we make our stand. This is what we signed up for." The Keldari had detected the crippled Indomitable and were closing in for the kill. On the tactical display, Maya watched as the enemy ships formed a strike pattern, weapons charged, and ready to finish what they had started. "Colonel Santos reports the ion cannon network is charging," Meta announced. "Estimated time to firing capability, 45 seconds. "Too long," Victor muttered. "They'll fire on us in 20. Maya's mind raced through possibilities, each more desperate than the last. Then an idea sparked, one final gambit. "Engineering, can you trigger a controlled overload in our port fusion reactor?" she asked. The chief engineer's voice crackled over the damaged comm system. "A controlled overload? Yes, but, Captain, that would destroy a third of the ship." "Not if we eject the reactor housing first," Maya countered. "I want you to set it to overload, eject it toward the Keldari formation, and detonate it remotely just before they fire." Understanding dawned in Victor's eyes. The electromagnetic pulse would temporarily disable their weapons. "And their sensors," Maya added, "buying us the extra seconds we need for the ion cannon to activate." The plan was executed with the precision of a crew who knew their lives. And the lives of millions of Lyrians hung in the balance. The fusion reactor was ejected toward the approaching Keldari vessels, tumbling through space like an innocent piece of debris. "Keldari ships preparing to fire," warned the tactical officer. 5 seconds. "Detonate the reactor," Maya ordered. The explosion was magnificent, a miniature sun blooming in the vacuum, bathing the battlefield in radiant energy. The electromagnetic pulse swept outward, washing over the Keldari ships and temporarily scrambling their systems just as they prepared to deliver the killing blow to the Indomitable. In those precious moments of confusion, the surface of Lyria lit up with brilliant blue-white beams of energy. The ion cannon network had activated, sending precisely calibrated streams of charged particles into orbit. Where they struck Keldari vessels, shield harmonics collapsed, and defensive systems failed. "Now," Maya shouted, "fire everything we have left." The Indomitable's remaining weapons discharged in one final defiant assault. Missiles and energy beams, no longer impeded by Caldari shields, struck the command ship's exposed reactor housing with devastating effect. Explosions blossomed along the dreadnought's spine, cascading toward its core. The Caldari flagship detonated in a spectacular conflagration, taking 2 nearby cruisers with it. For a moment, the bridge crew of the Indomitable watched in stunned silence as their seemingly impossible strike succeeded beyond expectation. But their victory was short-lived. The remaining Caldari vessels, recovering from the electromagnetic pulse, turned their collective fury on the defenseless human ship. "This is it," Maya thought, watching the enemy weapons charging for what would surely be the Indomitable's final moments. She had done all she could. They had bought the Lyrians valuable time and dealt the Caldari a significant blow. Perhaps it would be enough. Then, just as the Caldari prepared to fire, space itself seemed to tear open in multiple locations around Lyria's orbit. Massive ships emerged from FTL jumps, sleek, powerful vessels bearing the unmistakable insignia of the Terran Compact. "Reinforcements," Victor breathed, disbelief evident in his voice. But the battle group wasn't due for another 2 days. The communication system crackled to life. "TDF Indomitable. This is Admiral Hernandez aboard the Defiance. Looks like you could use some assistance." Relief flooded through Maya, so intense it was almost painful. "Admiral, your timing is impeccable. But how?" "We received Governor Thenis's distress call and pushed our engines beyond safety protocols," Hernandez replied. "5 ships burned out their FTL drives getting here, but no one wanted to arrive to find another world reduced to ash." There was a pause. "Hold tight, Captain Chen. We'll handle the Caldari from here. Medical teams are standing by to board the Indomitable." As the compact battle group engaged the remaining Caldari forces, Maya slumped in her command chair, the adrenaline that had sustained her finally ebbing away. Around her, her crew allowed themselves the first genuine smiles in what felt like an eternity. "We did it," Victor said quietly, cradling his broken arm. "We actually held them off." Maya nodded, too exhausted for words. The Indomitable was crippled, possibly beyond repair. Many good people had died. But Lyria still lived, its cities intact, its people safe. And something else had been accomplished today, something that would echo across the stars. One ship of the Terran Compact had stood against an extermination fleet and refused to yield. They had proven that humanity's promise to protect its allies wasn't empty rhetoric. In a galaxy ruled by the calculus of power, they had demonstrated that sometimes principles were worth fighting for, even against impossible odds. 3 days later, Maya stood on a balcony overlooking Lyria's capital city. Her left arm was in a sling, and medical nanites were still repairing the internal damage she had suffered during the battle. Below, Lyrians and humans worked side by side to strengthen the planet's defenses. The Caldari had retreated, but everyone knew they would return eventually. Admiral Hernandez joined her at the railing, his weathered face solemn. The Indomitable's being towed back to Earth for extensive repairs. Analysts say it will be at least 6 months before she's space-worthy again. Maya nodded, feeling a pang of separation. The ship had become home. "The crew?" she asked. "Those who survived have been given commendations. And you, Captain Chen, are being awarded the Star of Terra, the highest military honor we have." Hernandez glanced at her. "There's also talk of promotion." Maya shook her head. "With respect, Admiral, I'd prefer to remain with the Indomitable when she's repaired. Those people, that ship, we've been through something together that can't be replicated." Hernandez smiled slightly. "I thought you might say that." His expression grew more serious. "What you did here has changed things, Maya. Not just for Lyria, but for the entire Compact. Word is spreading. Species that were neutral or too afraid to oppose the Caldari are reaching out to join us. Because of one battle? Maya asked skeptically. Because of what one ship was willing to sacrifice, Hernandez corrected. The galaxy has watched empires rise and fall for millennia. It's seen countless species crushed under the doctrine that might makes right. What it hadn't seen until now was a power willing to send its ships to die defending those who couldn't defend themselves. He gestured toward the city below. Every person down there knows they're alive because humanity decided their lives were worth protecting. Maya considered this, watching as a group of Lyrian children played in a park that, just days ago, might have been reduced to ash and radiation. One of them looked up, spotted her on the balcony, and waved enthusiastically. After a moment's hesitation, Maya waved back. "The Keldari will come back," she said. "They can't allow this defeat to stand. It undermines everything their empire is built upon." "They will," Hernandez agreed. "But when they do, they won't face one ship or even one species. They'll face a compact that's growing stronger every day." He smiled grimly. "And they'll learn what we've known since we first ventured into space, that humanity doesn't just fight to protect its own. We fight for all who stand with us." As the sun set over Lyria's capital, casting long shadows across the recovering city, Maya thought about the battle they had survived and the greater war to come. The Keldari Empire had ruled through fear for thousands of years. Changing that wouldn't happen in a day or even a decade. But for the first time since humanity had entered the galactic stage, there was a sense that change was possible. That the future didn't belong to those with the biggest fleets or the most advanced weapons, but to those who were willing to stand together, to be shields for one another against the darkness. And in that moment, despite the pain of her injuries and the memory of those lost, Maya Chen felt something she hadn't expected to find in the aftermath of such a desperate battle. Hope.